In our last video, what we did was we finished up on our CSS, and we were able to take the CSS from the HTML file, which was here. We were putting it here, and we put it into this link here. And then we were able to finish off the CSS here to somewhat make the look of our design and our prototype here look like the actual, we were able to make our actual design look something like the prototype is what I'm saying. So right now there is, we have the mouse when it goes over the button to where it looks like a finger, and we have this button over here really doesn't do anything. We have this label over here, but everything is actually labeled and in the position that we need it to be in based on the CSS that we have. So now it's time for us to start putting some logic in here. And in order to do that, we're going to use JavaScript. So JavaScript is actually going to allow us to put some functionalities to this. We're not going to go into depth with JavaScript because all we want to know is how to get the JavaScript to work with what we are doing. And the JavaScript basically will be designed to be able to access these IDs that we create. And this is another reason why we have IDs. So the IDs are able to be accessed through JavaScript and through CSS. So just for clarification, if we look at this chart here, we'll see that JavaScript actually runs on the server side's computer. When you send a request to a web server, here you go www.gmail.com, and it goes over here to the server and it returns you some response, whether it be JSON or anything like that, and your computer actually will translate that inside the browser. But the JavaScript is run inside the client's browser, which means they have control over that JavaScript, meaning they can turn it on or off. And this is why JavaScript is so powerful. If you look at some of these other diagrams, they show you how JavaScript exists within the CSS and the HTML at the top level. And then what you'll also have here is a diagram that shows you that JavaScript exists with the DOM is what they call it. And without getting into too much detail, basically think of this as your web browser. And here's your CSS and your JavaScript, and then it renders and it goes all the way out to painting on the screen itself. So a few things we're going to need in JavaScript. We're going to need to be able to select buttons or get the clickable buttons or connect to these divs. So that's the first thing we're going to do. We want to get some reaction from these divs. And there's two ways we can put in JavaScript. We can actually go in here and type JavaScript like this, how this button says on button click, and then it has this word btn press in there. So if you were to go to your button and you were to type this btn press, basically this is inline JavaScript. So normally what you would see when you're first starting is up here inside of the head, you'll have your script tag. So the script tag will look something like this. Now you got to keep in mind that this script tag can be placed anywhere. It can be placed in the head or in the body. We're just doing it in the body so you can understand how this works. And then what we're going to do is the same thing we did with our style sheets, and we're going to take it out of this sheet so that way when it gets too long, we won't have to worry about messing with our HTML. And also, we always want separate sheets for CSS, HTML, and JavaScript for something that's called separation of concerns. We don't want everything mixed into one sheet. But for right now, just for demonstration purposes, we're going to do it all in this one sheet, this test. So in JavaScript, there's functions, and functions actually is what's going to be doing most of our work. So in order to start a function in JavaScript, because we want something to do something, so we're going to create a function. I typed the keyword function, and then what I do is I just give the function a name. I'll just call this my, I'll call it btn, and then you open and close brackets like that, parentheses, open and close brackets, and in between these brackets is where I'm going to put what this function does. Now here's another thing you need to understand about JavaScript. It has functions already placed in JavaScript that allows you to manipulate the DOM, manipulate the web browser. Okay, so in order for me to do that, I have to grab things inside the web browser. For instance, like this div. I need to be able to get to that div in order to be able to make it do something. So I need to pull it into JavaScript first, then I can make it do something. And the way we grab IDs inside of JavaScript is basically with a JavaScript function, but I first have to grab the document itself. So I grab the entire document, then I go inside the document and grab this right here. And then I go inside of that and I can do anything I want from that, like add a different text or something. So it's a cascading way of grabbing different things, or hierarchical way of grabbing different things. To clarify this even further, if you look at this chart here, first I have to grab the document, which gives me this HTML tag, which will give me anything I want inside of that tag. For instance, in this case here, I can grab the body, H1 or anything, but first I have to start at the document level. Then I can say get element, which is all of these elements, by the ID, which is what we're going to do here. So I first start off with the word document, and then I can type dot get element by ID. Now all I need to do is put the ID name in there, in quotes. So the ID name that I'm looking for is this right here, LBL. I'm going to change that LBL to something. Now that I have the LBL, this label here, so I grab this one now, right? Now I want to change what is inside of there. So in order to do that, what I need to do is get the text element inside of that tag right there that I just grabbed. So all I need to do is say dot inner HTML, and then I can put whatever I want in there, like hello world from JavaScript. And then I close everything off with a semicolon when it comes to these lines such as this. Not necessarily the function itself, but these lines here. Now, old JavaScript required you to add more to the script tag, but the new JavaScript, you don't require that anymore because it is the official language of all websites and browsers. So you don't really have to tell it what kind of script it is. It's the native script of the web browser. So the final thing I need to do is make sure that this button click and this button press is the same. Otherwise, it won't work. So I have to either change this one to this or this one to this. And what I'll do is I'll take this right here, this function name, and I'll make that the name itself. I can hit save. Now when I go back over here to my page, I'm gonna refresh that. Now when I click on that button, as you can see, it changed that tag over here. Actually, I thought I was accessing this one, but I think that one was the info box. So if I just go here, take this info box, and I can add another line down here. Grab that info box tag. Oops. I'm going to grab this info box tag. It has to be spelled the same. Make sure it's spelled the same. Grab the inner part of that, and then I can say something like ready. Hit save and refresh this. This goes back to the original form. Then when I hit this, as you can see, it changes this and it changes this here. So now we've gotten really an understanding of how JavaScript can actually help us connect to our HTML, our CSS. We can change styles of this. For instance, if I were to access this item here, and I would say dot style, it's a color. And that will equal something like, let's say, green. I'm lowercase green. Save that, semicolon, save it, refresh it, and then when I click on this, you'll see how this turned to green. So you pretty much have access to anything. You can do animation through this. There's a ton of things you can do, but basically we just need it so that way we can access these buttons, and these buttons change depending on which room we're in. And in the next video, that's exactly what we're going to do. But first, let's set it up to where we are in, let's say, a single file. So we don't want our JavaScript here, but this test would allow us to ensure that our external file is working as it should, because we know for a fact, when I refresh this, we know all of this stuff works. So when we put it in its own file, we want to see it work exactly the same. So this is why it's always good to do these tests, so that way we can see it work, something simple, and then when we put it in the external file, we see it work again. So in order for us to do that, what we're going to do is come over here to our project. Well, here's our folder over here. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to make a new file. And I'm going to call that cave.js, meaning for JavaScript. Click enter on there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my HTML. I'm going to take this script inside of this script tag and I'm going to cut that out. And I'm going to paste it here inside of this JS file here. And then don't worry about the, all the errors and stuff right now. For right now, just leave it like that. And then we're going to go here to this HTML over here. And I'm going to remove this last one. Well, not really remove it, just basically move it up like this. And in here, I'm going to type source, src for source, enter, and I'm going to point it to that cave.js file, and then save that. Now, what I'm going to show you is after I refresh and I click on this, it all still works. And this is why we wanted to, just so we can see that this link works. So now that we have our external JavaScript file ready, and it's working with our HTML, and we obviously know it works with the CSS, we can actually start coding the logic to our game. But we're going to do that in the next video. So I'll see you guys then. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you share, and if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. I'll see you guys next time.